So first we're gonna make the fruit slaw, and these are just random fruit lying around the house. There's a white plum, a regular plum, different kinds of plums. That's an Asian pear, and it's the best palate cleanser I know of. It's extremely refreshing. Anyway, we're just going to slice around the pit, thin slices, and then we're gonna stack up the slices in batonette or just cut them into matchsticks. We actually want to leave the skin on, so there's a little contrast and color in the final salad. As you can see, this knife needs a little sharpening. Okay, that's just a regular peach. It's still rather crisp, and that's okay for this application. You see, depending on the firmness of the fruit, I'm using different cutting techniques. If the fruit's a little soft, then you have to use kind of a push cut. And then when you have, like, this Asian pear is quite firm and crisp, so you can just go ahead and roll the knife through as you would almost any kind of vegetable. You can just leave the tip of the knife on the cutting board and kind of roll your way through it. So anyway, we're gonna reserve all that in a bowl, and here we have I guess that's a Meyer lemon, just rolling it to get it ready to be juiced. And this is a good way of getting the most juice with the most control out of any citrus. Flick the seeds out. Instead of cutting a lemon in half, you slice off 4 slices plus the core, which you can twist the juice out of. Anyway, we're gonna season with just a dash of salt and also extra virgin olive oil. So the video cut out there, that's 2 avocados pitted, obviously, salt, lemon juice, and olive oil, and it's in the blender. And this is kind of tricky because we don't want to add any liquid to that, so you do the best you can. You have to kind of use your spatula to push them down, and you pour the avocado puree into a piping bag, or in this case just a Ziploc. And you want to get all the air out because you don't want this to oxidize, and later you just snip the tip. So there's a fruit salad. It's been marinating for maybe 10 minutes, and now we're gonna slice up some mint, add that to it, and we're also going to pluck the mint flower at the top to use as garnish later on. Yeah, so you reserve those delicate leaves, and you leave them whole. And you just roughly chop through the mint, add them to your fruit slaw, and mix them in. You don't want to do this too far in advance. You can actually make the fruit slaw the night before, but definitely not the fresh herb. And be fairly gentle when you're mixing. Okay, so here are the scallops. I couldn't get any dry pack, which is what you want. So these wet pack scallops I rolled up in paper towels just to try to soak up as much moisture as possible. And here we have just equal parts paprika and brown sugar, and also a good dash of salt. And we're just gonna, just on one side of the scallop, we're gonna form a crust, and then that's the side that goes in the pan first. So we want the oil to shimmer, not quite smoking hot, because the herb crust is gonna burn. Alright, so now we place our scallops gently in the pan. You want to remember where you started. So here I started at roughly 9 o'clock, and those are the scallops you want to turn first. Right, so first in, first turned, first out of the pan. And since there's brown sugar and the spice, you want to be fairly gentle, moving it on and off the heat. And this is something that, oh, here I'm seasoning the other side of the scallops. So something like scallops, you and most fish, I would say, you want to flip it only once. Now these are a little tricky because they're wet packs, so they don't quite firm up the same way. There's something unnatural about the texture. So you do the best you can, but if you cook enough of these, you'll know when they're done. As you can see, there's some nice color, nice caramelization. And here I'm kind of just poking and squeezing the scallops. And I would say they're just about done. So now you reserve them in a separate pan. And don't just, dump them out. You don't want any of the brown sugars and stuff to rub off. So here's the half slice of lemon, and we're gonna season with a little acid. And you see, when you cut the lemon or lime that way, you have a lot of control. You can squeeze out 1 drop or 2 or 3. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so you have a lot of control. You can squeeze out 1 or 2 or 3 drops and place those drops very precisely. So here we're plating up just a dollop of the avocado puree. And then the back of the spoon down and across. So I normally never do this kind of plating exercises at home, but in any case, the fruit salad top. Now, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to plating techniques, and just in a situation like this, you want to be very mindful of how much plate is actually exposed. There's a sort of a inverse relationship between how fancy it is and how much plate is exposed. So the more plate you see and the less food, the more fancy it is. And also you want to work close to your plate. So the scallop is right next to the first plate, so you're not making a mess and leaking juice all over the place. Okay, so now there's 5 scallops, and later I'm gonna realize that that's too few for the amount of fruit slaw and avocado base that I laid down. Here I'm just very fancy dots, avocado dots. Okay, now I'm gonna put the rest of the scallops on, trying to figure out where. Yeah, there. It was just very basic. You don't want to stack the scallops, so just lay them out whichever way you think looks nice. Oh, here we go. There's some fancy olive oil drops. Alright, so when you're doing that, you want to get close to the dish. You don't want to bomb the olive oil down from high above. And oh my god, there's tweezers. Those are the little mint shoots that we reserve later. I'm actually placing one spear down on each of the avocado dots. You're just gonna tidy up the plate a little bit, wipe it down. And when you do more than one plating, one's always gonna look better than the other. So there's a finished dish. It's okay. It's a bit amateurish, but I think it'll do for any kind of home setting. And there's a photo in better lighting. So I hope you enjoyed.